Hi, Kelly. Great to see you today.
Hello, Sandra.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. I think I'm having a few Wi-Fi difficulties today, so we'll see how we get on. So it's
Okay.
lovely to meet you again. I say meet you, but for anybody that's watching today, Kelly and I worked together, and we just worked out it was back in 2008. I know we still look really young, Kelly. So I don't know how that's possible.
So, first lesson of the day, time goes just like that.
Just like that, just like that. So we worked together in HR, didn't we?
We
All
did.
that time
Many
ago,
years. Yeah.
and sort of kept in touch, I suppose, through social media. Really, I mean, I think we've just said we've only seen each other once in person,
Yeah.
but sort of kept in touch through social media, which is brilliant. Anyone that's trained with me might have heard me talk about Kelly, because I do. When I talk about careers, I always find your career really fascinating because you started off working on the underground, didn't you? And then into HR, and you retrained to be a paramedic, which I think is just amazing. So
Yes.
I asked Kelly on today to have a chat, talk a little bit about her career, and sort of, I suppose, how you've got there, and sort of any sort of experiences that we can share, really. So thank you. Is there anything I've missed on there that you want to share before we get going?
No, I don't
No?
think so.
No? Cool, lovely. So I suppose first of all, you've had these three brilliant careers that I know of. You might have had more, but I suppose for me, if you think about the people we're talking to, how do you think that sort of worked for you? Do you know what I mean? What were your experiences going through three really different areas of career?
Yeah. So if we go back to the beginning, which was a long time ago, I left school at 16, and I was your average kid. So average GCSEs. And I can talk GCSEs because they're that old now. But I was the second year to do GCSE, so they were really new when I did them. And I think family wanted me to go on do A-levels, university and all that. And actually, I didn't want to go. And the reason why, I think there's two reasons why I didn't want to go. I was very lucky to have done some work experience at 15 with London Underground. And I'd been a bit bullied at school. So I didn't want to go to college with all those same people. And I think having done my work experience and meeting some really, what I deemed to be really cool kids, because, I did my work experience in London, that's where I wanted to be. Bearing in mind that was early 90s, so late 80s, early 90s. So, and that's what I did. So I left school, I got a job. I actually worked for Lloyds Bank first for a year.
Oh, did you? I didn't realise that.
I did, yeah, before I joined the Underground. Whilst I was sort of looking for what I wanted to do in the Underground, and then I joined the Underground. But if I go back to my very first, and I remember my very first day at work, I can remember it was induction day. I can remember being in a room. There was about 20 of us. We were all school leavers, joining Lloyds Bank on a sort of new school programme. And the first thing the trainer said going around the room is, I want one word out of everybody. I want to know if you're introvert or extrovert. Now, we were all sitting in a horseshoe, and he started the other side of the room, and it was coming round to me. And I took a deep breath and thought, here is my moment. Am I going to say I'm introvert, or am I actually going to stand out from the crowd and say I'm extrovert? And I took a really deep, brave breath at 16 and went, I'm extrovert. And everyone looked round at me as enough to say, oh, what makes her extrovert? I wasn't extrovert at all. I just wanted to be different. All of a sudden, I just thought this is a bit of a moment. And I've had a few of those moments during my career. Those moments where little gems where all of a sudden you change your direction. And what I didn't realise at the time was how good it made me feel. I now recognise that as, that was me kind of, making myself feel really good and positive about life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was an amazing moment. Anyway.
And it's great that you remember that, though. That must have really, I mean, really, to remember that clearly is amazing.
Clear as day. And I remember the trainer as clear as day. We become really good friends after that. Sadly, unfortunately, because it was many years ago, he's passed on now. But he had a real big influence over my first few weeks at work and being in the workforce, which was great. And I've kind of always sort of tried to model myself on that a little bit. When you get young people that come and do some training, or, they start work with you and they're young, try to model myself around that a little bit, because his positivity made an absolute massive impression on me.
Yeah.
Anyway, did a year at Lloyd's
And
Bank.
what a
joined London
massive
Underground.
and what a massive impact that somebody can make on your career, really, isn't it? If you know,
Just
you could have
by
gone in the
one question. Is it?
amazing,
Yeah.
yeah, brilliant.
So I joined the Underground. I'm quite bored when I join the Underground. I start in an office. I do a bit of admin work. Lucky for me that London Underground, big organisation, everybody knows London Underground, of course. They did a lot of their own sort of internal programmes, training and development programmes. They had a training programme at the time. It was a bit like an apprenticeship where you could join. And the idea being is they would pass you around different departments. You'd find what you liked. They would train you in that. And then you'd sort of on your way with a career with London Underground. So I did a few things. I managed stations for a little while. Managed patient flow through stations. That's where I then tried my hand at being a tube driver. In amongst all that, I did do some time in HR. Loved it. And actually, that's where I did my work experience.
Yeah.
So loved HR. So spent a while, and it was a 4-year program, sort of trying to settle down what I wanted to do. Meanwhile, then started a family. So for that reason, then come back to the world of HR and office, 9 to 5, a lot easier when you have a family.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of my HR career, really, was London Underground. Wow. And I did a lot of different projects through being at the Underground, you know, everything from hiring to firing, you know, restructuring, all those sorts of things. And had a very, very successful career with the Underground. And then I think as my daughter got a bit older, work-life balance and that, I wanted to come a bit closer to home. So then I took a deep breath, left the Underground, but worked for a local authority. So up until then, I'd always done public sector work. Worked for a local authority a bit closer to home. And then took a deep breath again and thought, not really. I've always... If you're not happy when you're getting up every morning, going to your job, doing your job, then's the time to think about what am I doing? What do I need to do to change this and move on? And I always fancied.
I think that is a really interesting point, isn't it? Because we spend a lot of time at work, don't we? And for you to make that conscious decision, I'm not happy, or do you know what I mean? It's not what I need this point in time to make a move, is really good, really brave.
Yeah, I always say to people, if you're not getting anything out of it, it's time to plan and move on, and not make that rash decision, not jump, not do anything silly. I've always planned an exit, if you like, somewhere else, to go somewhere else. So that's when I thought, do you know what, I want to go and give private sector a go. Hence, I ended up in the organisation that then you and I worked for. It also involved moving as well. So obviously I come from sort of the outskirts of London all the way up to the dizzy heights of Peterborough, which is where you and I met. So ended up then working private sector, again HR. Difficult business, because a lot of that was to do with sales, wasn't it? And outsourcing. Very different. Yeah. I'd gone from being very secure in the public sector to then, wow, you got to bring in the business. So again, a very different organisation. And I did that for a few years, didn't I?
Yeah.
And then I think through lack of a path and a growth, so not really having somewhere to go onto and grow into and make my way up, again made a decision, then got to go and do something different. Again, private sector, found another organisation, did that for a little while, and that wasn't successful at all. I absolutely crashed and burned, and I think here comes what everyone seems to refer to as a midlife crisis.
Right, okay, yeah.
So there was 2 reasons I wasn't happy in my work, but during that time, which was round about the 30 mark, 30, 31, 32, I decided I wanted to take myself off and do something called the 3 Peaks Challenge. I still thought I was 18 and could climb mountains. So off I went and had a horrendous accident and fell off the mountain.
No way! I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so fell off the mountain, had an accident, had to be rescued by the mountain rescue team. And the first person that found me was a paramedic. So they all volunteered for the mountain rescue team, but obviously had those sorts of backgrounds with them. Yeah. And he had a Labrador. It was the Labrador that found me. He laid down next to me and thought, this is the person I'm looking for, and then barked into the sort of, it was just getting daylight, so he barked into the night sky, telling everybody where I was. A few minutes later, his owner, the paramedic, turned up.
Yeah.
And the care and attention I then got for 3.5 hours whilst they got me off the mountain was incredible.
That
And
sent shivers down my back. That actually
yeah,
sent shivers down my back. Wow.
and a bit of a life-changing moment. So not life-changing as in injury, but
No.
life-changing as in I laid there looking at the sky thinking, I've got a daughter. What am I doing up this mountain?
Yeah.
What am I doing with my life? I don't like the job. You know. Hello, time to change. And I didn't. So I was at that age, and I always say you get to a certain point in your age, you might agree with me, you might not, Sandra, where you start to like smelly cheese and red wine, and you feel like you got to give a little bit back to society.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I did some volunteering work for different organisations and charities. Weren't really kind of settling down in any until I found St John Ambulance. And then I found paramedics, nurses, people in the care industry. And they all just blew me away with their attitude and their care. It just all blew me away. And I always thought, I've missed a trick here. Maybe I should have, maybe my parents should have pushed me into that. Or, I'd never even thought of that as a career idea when I left school and thought I'd missed a trick. And then one morning I woke up to my mobile tinging, pinging and going absolutely bonkers. And all those friends that I'd met through St John Ambulance were texting me to say the East of England have just launched a new initiative. They want student paramedics off the street that they're going to train. So I thought, here we go. Here is now this is where a really big life-changing moment happens because I was a head of HR. So I was kind of almost, other than HR consultant, director, I was at the top of the game, right at the top of the ladder. So actually to come all the way back and be a student, and by then I was kind of around about the 40 mark, was really frightening, really scary. But I did it because I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy in the career. I hung my HR boots up, as I called it. And I retrained. I went back to university, trained.
How did that feel?
Retraining.
How did that feel going back? Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, scary. So with the underground, I'd been to uni and I'd done a master's. So although I didn't do it from leaving from school, I was supported to do it as an adult learner, which was still okay back then because I was in my 20s. But to go back to university at 40 absolutely scared the pants off of me. Yeah. So I joined a course. A lot of them were a lot younger than me. So I was always seen as the mum of the course, which was okay. I was all right with that. That was a role that I played quite nicely. Yeah. But although the university bit was scary, the actual job itself wasn't so scary because I'd had all those life experiences behind me. All those things went into and still go into now, hopefully, everyone agrees, makes me a good clinician. Yeah. So I joined East of England. Yes, I did the typical paramedic on the road in the back of an ambulance. I've done all that. I've worked in A&E. Now I work for a GP service. So now I'm in primary care for work-life balance reasons, really. But suits me fine. The sort of patient that always suited me was, Mrs. Miggins at 101 telling me she doesn't quite feel well. Not sure why, but I don't feel very well. And those are the sorts of patients I love now. So I make a huge difference in the world now in terms of patient care. So that is my kind of 36 years, I think, from beginning to end.
Brilliant, though. So, and it just goes to show, doesn't it, when I left school, probably a lot of people had one career through their life. But I think nowadays people do change more. And actually, you've done that. You've done that throughout your career anyway, which is just amazing. And so when you went to do the paramedic, the training and that, what was the one deciding thing for you where you felt this is, because that's a big decision to go from a head of HR back to university, like you say, top of your game, to going back, and probably money as well, and you've got to learn new things. But what was the one thing that you thought, actually, this is why I need to do it? Or not that you need, but I want to do it.
Yeah, it's always been, I wasn't enjoying getting out of bed and going to work anymore. I wasn't fulfilling what I felt I needed out of just life in general, really. I had everything. I had a house, I had a daughter, I had a family. What I didn't have was that real kind of happiness in my job role. So I kind of thought, my time's done. I've got loads of experience and loads of knowledge, but if you're not getting it back, if you're not enjoying getting out of bed, only you can do something about it. Things will not come to you. They do not land on your doorstep. You've got to go looking. And I think purely just by having that accident and meeting those people and then doing that volunteer work and surrounding myself with people that were really kind and caring, and I thought, that's the kind of person I want to be.
Yeah.
So it took till the 40s to realise, actually, that's the sort of person I want to be.
Yeah.
I'd done all that good stuff, and many years of a career, but actually what I've realised looking back now, that's not who I wanted to be. This is who I wanted to be.
Yeah.
But that's okay. If it took me to the 40s, that's okay, because like I say, what I do now, all the life experience that come before it now plays into that, which is great.
Yeah.
I can talk to new mums about being a mum, and and strains of having a mortgage, and talk to people about their mental health and things like that, because I've been there. Been there and done it, which makes me, I think, a clinician.
Exactly. Yeah, I would agree with you. And not that I'm a clinician, because one sight of blood and I'd just keel over. So I'd be no good on your team, Kelly. Never employ me. But if anybody's listening to this and they might be like just starting out and unsure what to do, but what would be your advice? Or, is there anything that you would say for somebody to consider?
Don't worry about you don't know what to do. Don't worry about it. It will come and you will find it. Go with your heart. What makes you happy? You've got to be happy. If you're happy and content in life, your mental health stays well. So go with your gut. What is it you want to do? I have always been a great advocate of having some kind of appraisal with my manager in whatever industry I've worked in. I've always chased that down. I've never waited for that to come to me. So I've always been really brought into my own development. That you can't sit around waiting for something to land in your lap. You've got to go and find it. So I think that is what I would say. But it is okay to not really know where you're going and what you're going to do. You'll find it. You'll definitely find it. And like I say, it might take until you're 40 to find it, but
it's fine. It's fine.
But here I am.
Here you are. Here you are, doing a job that you love. And I think, and I was probably, it was similar to you. I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do when I left school. And it's quite hard to, and I sort of fell into HR. So, but
I think we all do. I think we all fall into HR.
Yeah. And then some.
I mean, when I was my options at school, I was absolutely dead set. I was going to be air cabin crew. I was off going around the world. And then when I went through kind of looking at the recruitment process, realised I was only 5'1". That was never going to work. And I wore glasses back then. You had to be 6'2" and not wearing glasses. So
did you really? Oh, wow.
So the plan I had in my head went out the window before I'd even left school. Yeah. So I bimbled around thinking, God, what do I want to do?
What do I do? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the work I'm doing at the moment is with younger people, starting their career, but actually it could be people watching this who are, like you said, just a bit stuck in their career, thinking they might want to do something different. And I suppose, would you give any different advice to somebody who might be, like you say, 30, thinking this is really not what I want to do, or 40 or 50? Do you know what I mean? Is there any advice you'd give people?
I don't think it matters what age you are. You if you want to stay well, and you want to stay well in terms of mental health, and you don't like what you're doing, change it, and only you can change it. It's not other people around you. Don't wait for something to happen. You need to do it. You need to go out and find it. Find what makes you happy. We're quite materialistic, aren't we? Do those things really matter? I mean, they make us comfortable, but if you've not got all the other things that kind of build up to being comfortable with those material things, you got to go and find it.
Yeah,
go find it.
And when you were on the side of the mountain, were you thinking about those materialistic things?
Yeah.
Probably not. I'm sure that puts it into
there looking at the sky, thinking, what am I doing? Why have I put myself in such a stupid place when actually I've got a daughter who relies on me? She was still at school, so she relies on me. I could have quite easily have fallen off that mountain and it been a lot worse. The saving thing was I'd never hit my head. So, you know, maybe if I'd hit my head, I would have seen everything a bit clearer. You, um, you know, but yeah. So laying there thinking, what am I doing? What am I doing? So I had a long time to lay there and think about it.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're thinking about like the profession you're in at the moment, you know, in the paramedic and the health area, if there's somebody watching this that they're thinking, actually, that's what I would really love to do, have you got any top tips that you could share on, you know, either where to, I mean, you talked about volunteering, which I think is amazing. You know, is there any sort of tips that you would give anybody?
I mean, the good thing about doing some volunteer work is you can dip in and out. So you can try something. You can dip your toe in something and think, no, that's not right. Dip out.
Yeah.
Try something
Yeah.
else. The healthcare profession, it's a broken system, but it is the most fabulous work I've ever done. If you know, the care, the compassion, of everybody you meet in the NHS. People don't in the NHS. We don't go to work to earn the money. We go to work because it's a vocation. You know, and if that's what makes you get out of bed, and you know you are that sort of caring, kind soul, then go for it. You know, there is a lot of bad press out there, and yes, it is a broken system, but it is the most wonderful job I've ever done. You know, it ticks all my boxes.
Yeah, yeah, that's
You know,
great.
but
That's great.
no, there's no such thing as longevity anymore, is there? In you know, in employment. I mean, people. We go back to like our mum and dad's generation. You joined an organisation, you were in it until the day you retired. Well, that's not the way things work anymore. You know,
No.
if you join somewhere and you give it your good all and think, actually, this is not for me, there's nothing wrong with coming out and going down a different path and starting again. Nothing.
I love that. And I always think you, as I say, I do talk about you when I train on careers, because I think you're such an inspiration. And I think, you know, we could all take a leaf out of your book, because I know I've been in jobs and thought, what am I doing here? You know, that, you know, so it is about, like you say, taking control of your own career, isn't it? And exploring different options.
Yeah. And I would say, if anyone is listening who's starting out and who's really young, I think you'd probably agree with me, Sandra. Enjoy every minute, because here we are, 36 years later. I'm now planning my exit, which all sounds a bit. I mean, I'm only coming up to mid-50s, but that sounds a bit dramatic. But actually, I don't see myself having longer than 10 years left. I would like to retire whilst I'm still fit and healthy enough to do stuff. You know what I mean? Before I get so unfit and, you know, and have to retire. I'd like to retire and enjoy, or get to the point in my life where I can make a choice about whether I work or not. And I think that's really important when you're young. Plan for this moment. Plan for this moment when you're thinking about exiting. Are you going to exit when everyone says, oh, I can't retire until I'm, whatever the government says now, 67?
Yeah.
You don't really. If you plan and you do things right, and you know you got some good plans when you're really young, there is no need to work till 67. You know, I'm going to give it till 60, and then I'm going to be at that point in my life where I can make a choice about whether I work full time or not. Yeah. Or you know, which is a good space to be in.
It's definitely, and actually that is really good advice, isn't it? Because when you do start in your career, I can remember back that far when I first started, but you don't really think about that. You think it's so far in the future, isn't it? But actually what you've said about planning for the future is really, really important. So I mean, that's a great thing.
I joined the underground, and lucky for me, I wasn't thinking about retirement or anything near that. Lucky for me, at 18, they put me into the pension fund. You got to think about it right back at the beginning, because it will pay dividends as you get towards the end. And you hopefully, touch wood, if you've gone in the right direction, things will be comfortable. But yes, you've always got to plan the other end as well.
Yes, yeah. Because I remember getting like my paycheck, you know, and you'd have like your pension tax. You'd be like, oh, that's so much money. What I could be doing with that money. But like you say, you sound really old, but you know, but it does later on. So planning is really, really crucial.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. It is. So, those would be my little snippets to anybody who's starting out or wanting to change, or, you know, just go for it.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much. It's been really great talking to you today. Is there anything else that I've missed that you want to share before we...
I don't think so, no.
No.
I don't know whether you'll get questions, but, you know, here I am. I'm not going anywhere. Anybody wants to fire any questions via you, let's
Lovely.
go for it.
That's great. And I know you do a lot with mentoring and different things, so I think we're going to have another chat at some point, aren't we? So
yeah, that's where I am at my point in my career now. So obviously I do work for GP surgery, but I do a lot now with students.
Fantastic.
T-level students, so school leavers all the way through to the more mature students, university, paramedic sciences, all that. So I do a lot of mentoring now. So we're going to have another session, aren't we?
Well, we will talk about that. So brilliant. Thank you so much for your time today. I know you're really busy, so it's been brilliant talking to you. So I'll speak to you. We won't leave it as long next time.
No, let's not.
Take care. See you later. Bye.
If you like the video, make sure to like, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any future uploads of Career Voices.